Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again to be hung over. And I got to tell you, I see Big Marv already up here saying, "What's goody, Beastie Boys? What's goody?" Is the 3-game losing streak is over. The hangover is a happy hangover. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have earned the AFC North Championship on their own and not by the benefit of the Jets beating the Cleveland Browns. They earned it by themselves. They did not back into the division after that great start and that 3-game haul. Tony, I'm feeling it. I'm loving it. What's going on, my man?
How you doing, Bryan? I feel good. I feel good. I mean, they came this close to having the most unsatisfying division clincher in history, probably, and it's a testament to the organization that they were able to do a 180 and turn that game around. It was a great. I was really proud of the team how they turned things around on Sunday. I
absolutely was too, and it didn't feel like that way at first. So I got to tell you, great turnaround, a tale of two halves. We're going to talk about all of that. And once again, this is BTSC, BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. This is the hangover where, good or bad, win or lose, we talk about how we're feeling. It's our therapy group the next day after the Steelers play their regular season game. And now we're going to have playoff hangovers too. And hopefully there are many and there are lots of good ones. But here's the deal. Win or lose, we were going to be on here, and at the beginning of that game, Tony, it felt like it was going to be a loss. And you mentioned something about earning those hats and caps and winning the division. You know, it's not fun to put those things on when you just lost your 4th straight game and you had to have the Jets help you. I mean, you take it. Just like anything, you take it because you did earn those 11 wins to get you in that situation. But the way it was heading, it just felt really bad. So all of a sudden, after that game, we go on for the post-game show with co-editors Jeff Hartman, Dave Schofield, and myself. And all of a sudden, a lot of people in the live chat are having Super Bowl hopes once again. And I'm looking at Wes's comment here. I'm not getting back on the SB wagon just yet. And I get it. Not everybody will. But really what it is, it has revitalized championship dreams for this team and makes you feel a whole lot better. I'm looking at Nap here, Nap 1963, saying totally hungover. I love it. And he was texting me. In the first half. And we were frustrated together. Oh, yeah, I mean, we really were. And, on our Slack channel with BTSC, there was a lot of frustration. And one thing that I said to Nap, I said, man, if I didn't have a show after this game, if I didn't have to watch this game, I would turn it off. That's how frustrating it was because it just seemed like the same thing over and over and over again. Ben wasn't completing balls. The running game wasn't going. But a new wrinkle with the run game getting even more gashed than it had been a few weeks back. The run defense, excuse me. And I got to tell you, it just seemed like the Colts were outclassing them. But something happened. The Colts started playing a different brand of ball after that first drive in the second half. And they went away from the run a little bit more. They went for the pass. They were up 24-7, and they kind of abandoned what they were doing, and the Steelers took advantage. So, Tony, what was your knee-jerk reaction when the Steelers went for it on 4th down 24-7 near the goal line?
You talking about the result or before the result?
I was talking before the result.
I was thinking they have to make this, or it could possibly be, game over because, how many times have they been stymied on 3rd and 4th and 1 this year, and to be down 24-7, have it put a pretty good drive together. You have a chance to get within 10 points. I was thinking they better make it, or this is it. They're going to lose their 4th straight. That's what I was thinking at that time.
After they missed it, I was not angry that they went for it. I was angry that they could not punch that in. And that's what made me angry. But I had this weird feeling after they didn't punch it in. I'm thinking, all right, these guys don't have their tackles. They could, I mean, they've been blitzing fairly well. TJ had, which I thought he had 2.5 sacks, but he only had 2. Really thought he should have had a half on that one with Stephon Tuitt, unless that changed and I was not made aware of it. But I'm thinking, you know what? What if they get a safety? And Tony Romo said something about the safety as well. But, you know, I felt like they should go for it there. It didn't work. I would have made the same call to go for it there. But I was talking about this on the post-game show, Tony, and I want to ask you a question about this. If they go for the field goal and make it, I don't feel like they would have won that game if they would have settled for a field goal there. I think the field position that they were in forced a different Colts game and a different Colts game plan. And I just kind of feel that so much momentum came out of getting the ball back from the Colts after surrendering it down that close. Tony, what were your thoughts there?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I thought it was the right decision to go for it. I was just worried about what would happen if they didn't make it. And you're right. It changed. If it's 24-10 there and the Colts get the ball at the 25 or the 35 or whatever, the way they move the ball over the first 2.5 quarters. They're probably going to go down the field and score, you know. And I think it was huge that the Steelers defense forced a 3-and-out after they got stopped at the goal line. I think, you know, it was maybe a vote of confidence by Mike Tomlin and his defense, saying, "Look, we're going to take this chance here. If we don't make it, we're going to rely on you to get the ball back and give us a good field position again." So I thought that was key, that 3-and-out after they failed to score. I think that was maybe the biggest part of the game.
All right. I am going to hold on to this comment here because I love it. I'm going to bring Eric's comment up next. But I got to say this. I'm not a country music fan. I've seen Garth Brooks in concert, but not a huge fan. But Garth Brooks has a song called Unanswered Prayer. And I feel like that was an unanswered prayer right there when they didn't make it, because I felt like it woke up Ben Roethlisberger. Do you feel that way? Because Ben Roethlisberger came out different.
Yeah, momentum's a funny thing, and I thought it was huge. Not only that they forced a 3-and-out, but that they scored on one play, because you know, you're within 10 points before the fourth quarter. So, and obviously they scored again pretty quickly and early in the fourth quarter. So I think it woke Ben up, and maybe it was a wake up call, saying, look, we've been trying the same things over and over again with the short passing game. We have to open. If we're going to get anywhere this year, we have to open it up, and it starts now, or it might be too late. And it couldn't have been better timing for Ben to have his little wake up call.
Eric Pereira agrees with you. Great to see the Steelers throw the ball down the field to all receivers and use James as a receiver. When he's saying James, he's talking about James Conner. I love it. I love using James Conner out of the backfield. That helped open things up too. They still never really got that running game going, but they had 1 or 2 times when James Conner was able to get loose and help move the chains there. I mean, towards the end. So open up just a smidge, but enough to kind of change the script. And the script completely flipped when they started throwing the ball down the field. That's what we've been asking for the last 6 or 8 weeks or so. Those mid-range balls going down the field, and that's what they did. That long ball to Deontay Johnson was perfect. Somebody mentioned that, and somebody also mentioned every touchdown pass is perfect. And I got to tell you, that got them back in. As soon as they connected on that touchdown pass, I'm not saying I'm a soothsayer, because at halftime, I went and took a shower. That's how dirty I felt during that game. I went and took a shower, and I came back out. I'm thinking, all right, here we go. If they can come out strong, they've got a chance, but they've got to come out strong. But the Colts have got to they've got to stop the Colts, and they did not stop the Colts. But that sack, really close. That sack was huge, holding them to a field goal. But I'm thinking, man, they just took 5-6 minutes off the clock. Well, here we go. If they're going to do anything, they've got to do it here.
Right now.
And they didn't. They almost did, but they didn't. but they
Right.
showed they could move the ball down the field a little bit more. And then after that, when Ben Roethlisberger connected to DJ-18, I'm thinking at that point, Tony, they could come back because
Yeah.
I just knew that they could. I wasn't, but I'm still afraid of Rivers and the Colts. And of course, Jonathan Taylor, who I think is a tremendous running back. And on our pregame show the other day, I talked about this on the postgame yesterday. KT Smith mentioned that he's a high school coach, as you know, and he was scouting a high school football game coming up, and he was scouting Jonathan Taylor's opponents at the time. And he said the kid was unreal to watch. He scouted him in high school and said, wow, he was just absolutely amazing. And what he brought yesterday, I expect a lot of big things out of Taylor, who went in the second round to the Colts this year. What a big win for them. And I got to tell you, I didn't think that they stopped him a little bit in the second half, but they didn't go to him as much as they should. So it was really strange, but I really thought that they were going to be able to get it together there, and they did. And once he connected, it seemed like they weren't really looking back at that point, Tony.
Yeah, and imagine if the Steelers had a 24-7 lead and they were down their two starting tackles and they were running the ball effectively with a young stud running back, and all of a sudden they start throwing the ball and exposing their veteran quarterback. So I thought it was key that after the Deontay Johnson touchdown that they got another 3-and-out and gave the ball right back to Pittsburgh, and the Eric Ebron touchdown that was off of a long drive, or not really that long of a drive, but they were within 3 very early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it just felt really good. As horrible as I felt in the first half, towards the end of the third, I'm feeling great because it just seemed like it was happening. And they finally took that lead. But here we go again. They made some mistakes. They made some young mistakes with Deontay Johnson going out of bounds and giving the Colts a chance. But the nice thing that came out of that was the fact that the defense shut them down. They let them move.
Right.
I mean, they were field goal range if a field goal would have worked, but it wasn't going to with the 4-point lead. They let them move the ball, but they didn't break. Some things happened there. There were some horrible calls against the Steelers there down the stretch. There were some horrible calls against the Colts in that game as well. So I'm not going to complain when it came out on our end out in the wash. But, I got to say, it just seemed like when the Steelers finally had an opening and needed to take momentum, they did. So what I'm hoping, and you see the title of this show, the title of the show is the Steelers Revitalize Championship Dreams, or Champions. I don't even know what the title is. It's something like that. But with that, they revitalize that championship feeling now. And now we can start thinking about that. And the other big win out of this game was they came out relatively healthy.
Very much.
They did lose a player out of this game, and it just happened actually about right before we went on the air here. And who did they lose? And you're saying, bad, nobody got hurt in this game. No, they actually put Derwin Gray on waivers to start before this game to be able to make a move. And I think they had every intention of bringing him back, but the Jaguars decided to take Derwin Gray instead. So Derwin Gray is no longer a Pittsburgh Steeler as of about an hour ago. And that's a young player on the offensive line that was just starting to get some action in the last couple of weeks. But they left him unprotected, and he is no longer there. But as far as injuries go, no injuries. So that's a huge deal. The other huge deal coming out of this game was guys that were really lighting it up for the Steelers at the beginning of the season and here and there all through really showed up yesterday. I'm going to say TJ Watt has been doing it all season and really has. Now he is just 1 sack away from the team record. With his 15 sacks that he has right now, he could tie James Harrison from that 2008 season when he was Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL and the Steelers last hoisted the Lombardi. So he could tie him for the single season sack record at 16. And it's really funny. He is only about 30 and a half sacks away from tying James Harrison for the team lead in history. So the most sacks in team history, which would be absolutely amazing as well. But we're not worried about the future. We're not worried about records. We're worrying about this 2020 season and the Steelers being able to put it back together for the playoffs. So my question here is, when you've got Mike Hilton and Stephon Tuitt reemerging in this game and looking really good and making big plays, as well as a guy like Alex Highsmith, who, against a run, he's not as strong as Bud Dupree was. He's a pass rusher extraordinaire, and he looked pretty good, and he made a huge play on that interception late in the game. But Hilton had an amazing game with that fumble recovery and the interception. I mean, it could have been a touchdown on that fumble recovery. I mean, he's probably your MVP of this game. And you've got to give some nods, a game ball to Ben Roethlisberger for how he put it together in the second half after a horrible first half. But a lot of guys contributed. But so my question is, with guys like Tuitt and Hilton coming up big, Highsmith, you throw in Ben turning it around, a seamless game by Deontay Johnson, not dropping the ball, Juju coming up with some big catches, all of these guys coming up with some big catches when they had to, Eric Ebron looking right again as well. When you throw all that in, do you feel like the title is right, that the Steelers have revitalized their championship dreams?
Yeah, it's like we talked about last week. The script wasn't quite what we thought it would be or hoped it would be, a solid win over a really good team. But the fact that they were able to bounce back from a 17-point lead and seemingly change the script on offense and start doing what everybody had been saying that they should do for forever. And kudos to the fans for actually getting, being right this time. And look, we kept saying you have to open things up, and they did, and it worked. So I think when you factor in that Ben can throw, he proved that he can throw deep, and his arm there's nothing wrong with his arm, at least not on Sunday. There was nothing wrong. There didn't appear to be. In the defense, so many TJ Watt is if he's not Defensive Player of the Year, he's going to be this close to winning it.
Okay, I'm laughing because that was my next question. I was teeing that up. Steeler Nation 412 says TJ going to get a huge contract, and Rand's 87 IROC Z. Ooh, love it. TJ is just phenomenal. My question was going to be, did TJ win the Defensive Player of the Year award yesterday in that game?
In my mind, he did. I mean, I saw the stats on Facebook over his first four years, and they're just so consistent. He's such a consistent player. He just brings it week in and week out, kind of like James Harrison did in his heyday, and how many times yesterday and all season did you see TJ Watt victimized by the old James Harrison? Let's grab him around the neck and steer him to the ground, and the ref didn't call holding. I mean, we see that every week. I mean, the guy just, whether it's a backup left tackle or I'm sorry, right tackle or a Pro Bowler, the guy cannot be stopped one-on-one. So, in my mind, he is the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, some people are saying Aaron Donald, but I guess we'll find out. But I think he's done enough to win that award.
I think there's something in play here that sometimes it doesn't happen. But I think in a situation like this, with Aaron Donald having one already, that, I know we've seen it before with Michael Jordan getting a few, Magic Johnson getting a few way back when, because they were head and shoulders above everybody else at the time. But I really think the NFL would want to crown a player the caliber of TJ Watt when Aaron Donald already has one. And as far as hurries, not just sacks, as far as hurries and quarterback hits, TJ has more than anybody, and it's a larger margin than what you would think. So that's why I think TJ is going to win that. And yeah, he is just a fantastic player. Now here's the question. He's 1 sack away from the record. But we saw him yesterday when we got scared yesterday with him looking like he was hurt, but he came back on the field. We've seen it a few times this year. Who do you rest this weekend against the Cleveland Browns when the only thing that is going to change is being the number 2 or the number 3 seed, especially if something happens where the Bills lose tonight? And it's a possibility that they lose tonight. They just lost a couple guys to COVID. Actually, within the last hour, the news came out about that. John Brown's also on that list too. But my question is there a reason to start a guy like TJ Watt?
Absolutely not. Here's 2 reasons why you don't start him. Devin Bush and Bud Dupree. So yeah, I think as you said, you're locked into the 2-3 bracket. You know, by being in that bracket, if you win, even if you're number 3 seed, if you win that game, you're gonna, at the very least, you're gonna travel to Buffalo unless they lose. But the bottom line is you're gonna avoid the Chiefs in the first 2 rounds as long as you keep winning. So I think you rest all key personnel against the Browns and you start with TJ Watt. He's at the top of the list.
Okay, so I love our live chat because this is the glory of the live chat. They can agree to disagree on this because some people are saying rest everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
John Trent, who I really respect, says rest everyone. A lot of other people have said that too. I'm just singling out John. Felicia, who I really respect as well, says rest nobody. We're rusty with rest. Now, I get both sides of the coin. I'm thinking you rest a lot of people in this game. I think you put Mason Rudolph in, and I would love to see Mason Rudolph go to Cleveland and beat them. That to me would be absolutely phenomenal. But that's not it. You've been victimized, and you said it when you mentioned Bud Dupree and Devin Bush. You said it completely. We need to come out of this game healthy.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. You know, now let's talk about Felicia's point. We're rusty on rest. That's true. Sometimes we are, but this team has not had a bye week.
Right.
This doesn't make it a bye week because the team is playing, but it is going to give some very important people time to rest. I don't think that Ben Roethlisberger is going to play any different.
No.
Whether he in the playoffs, whether he plays this week or not, but you're risking more. I think there's more reward from resting a lot of guys. Now, of course, you can't rest everybody, but if you were to rest about 5 or 6 guys, who are you resting, Tony? And I'm going to help you out here. We know Ben's on the list.
Yeah, of course, Ben, TJ Watt. I think you have to rest Joe Hayden because he's so valuable. Minka and Cam Hayward and Tuitt. I think those are the guys, and everybody else. You know, you play them as much as need be, and if you have replacements for them, then you play them a quarter, and then you take them out too. And I think it would be, as you said, they really haven't had a bye. I mean, they kind of got their bye thrust upon them earlier in the year than they thought, and they've been jerked around with the schedule. I think this would be a great morale boost from Mike Tomlin to his players to give them, to take it easy on them this week. They're playing the Browns. They know the Browns, so you know you don't really have to go crazy with the film study and the practice. So you take it easy on them this week, and then you rest your key players. You deactivate them, and then you play the rest of the guys a quarter or so, and you get them out of there. That's how I would handle it.
Well, you know what's funny is that they are resting Pat Mahomes in Kansas City. I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, Mrs. Mahomes. Patrick's being rested, and that's going to be 2 weeks off for him. And Andy Reid is famous for that. He's famous for resting everybody, and it doesn't always work in his favor. I will tell you that. But if you play those guys and they get their head ripped off, or they hurt a knee, or do something that they're out for the rest of the playoffs, that when you don't have to play them, I think that's going to kill you even more. So when you don't have a reason to win, I think you go ahead and leave some of these guys out. However, I got to ask you this question, Tony. Do they risk exposing somebody else to injury by having less guys in there, especially on offense and defense? I was going to say, especially on defense, like when you don't have a Tuitt or a Hayward in there to absorb some things, do you risk getting a guy like Avery Williamson hurt, or a guy like Steven Nelson hurt, or a guy like Alex Highsmith hurt by not having protection around them?
I mean, I guess you could say that, but I think you could say that. I mean, they're all one play away from having a serious injury. So I don't know if it's that much of a risk at all. Really, I see what you're saying, but I don't think it's that big of a factor, honestly.
You know who I think needs a rest is DeCastro. I don't think he's point. Right. I still think he's a great player. I just don't think he's healthy. I'd love to see him rest. Connor, might as well rest him. It doesn't hurt to rest a guy like Connor. But so it's and give some of these guys like McDave Clenor just said they should start Landon Sutton and rest Nelson and Hayden. Yeah, maybe give those guys some much needed reps too. When they get reps, they get better. Vodka Drinker says, "Ben, you got to play the game, dude." I get it, and maybe I'm reading way too much into this, but
no, it's the right call. You got to rest people. I'm sorry, I didn't even interrupt.
I remember when Kevin Green was going for the sack title back in 1994. They rested him, O'Donnell. They had already had the number 1 seed wrapped up in 94, and they rested all of those guys. Now, it helped them the first week. They lost in the second week, but they lost in the AFC Championship game. So it goes. There's so many different ways that you could look at it. It's just like I'm erring on the side of caution because I've seen it happen. So with that being said, right before we're going to go to break, but before that, we want to take a couple live super chats here and thank both Sean Manahan and John Knox for the $5. Sean says receivers said Ben called the second half, again throwing Fichtner under the bus. Hey, if the receivers are saying that, Ben's not throwing them under, so that's great. And Fichtner is under the bus, and of course Fichtner is going to take credit for it. I joked about that yesterday, that he will, but I had not heard that. But that means that the receivers have Ben's back, and I think that's really important. I'd love to hear that. That means some cohesion, because I was actually wondering about that yesterday. And I mentioned that on the post-game show that maybe the receivers had a talk with Ben and called him out and said, hey, you keep us accountable. I mean, you got to get it to us. We'll do it. And that's just a scenario I came up with in my head, but you never know. John Knox says, rest Al, Pounce, DeCastro. Maybe a different O-line can get a push in the run game. I agree. However, you guys we do have to remember, and Dave Schofield said this yesterday, or maybe it was Jeff, that you got to make sure that some guys are out there in case somebody gets hurt in that game too. You can't, right. You might dress them and not play them. You might see something like that. Ben, you don't have to dress because you have the quarterbacks with Ben. So there we go. Let's go ahead and take a break here. And if you are on Facebook or on YouTube, just stick around, take a drink. We will be right back after this. If you're checking us out on any of our podcast platforms, anywhere you are able to download your favorite podcast, just go ahead and look for The Hangover #2. You can do it in seconds, and you'll be right back with us. So we'll be right back after this, Tony and I, on The Hangover. Stick around, my friends. Welcome back to the Steelers Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Alongside me is Anthony Defeo. You could call him Tony. You could call me Bad. I got to tell you, we're feeling good. This is not the same hangover that we've been going through the last 3 weeks of the season. I mean, those were AA hangovers there. Those are really bad ones. I got to tell you that. You seek help after those hangovers because that's how bad it was, Tony. And I got to tell you, I felt absolutely miserable after those games. After the first half of this game, I felt even more miserable. And then Ben, Mike Tomlin, this team, the defense said enough is enough. And they won this game. And they played the game that we've been asking for. And I hope it continues. Do you think it could continue? Do you think that there could be a little sea change in the offensive, mindset?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think that they saw it yesterday. They saw what can happen when you open things up and you're successful at it. Not just, I mean, anybody can throw incomplete deep passes, but they were completing, and one was a touchdown, or actually two were touchdowns, and one drew a pass interference call that led to another touchdown. So, and look at how it opened. Look how it opened up the short passing game after that. Tony Romo pointed out. I mean, nobody knows more about in-game adjustments than him, and he pointed out, look, the Colts safeties are backing off now. Which we said that would happen if Ben proved that he could hurt them with intermediate to deep passes. So yeah, I think this shows them that, look, it's not that you switch that totally, but we need to keep this in our offensive game plan going into the playoffs. That's how we have to attack defenses. We see what can happen even with the short passing game when we do that.
Eddie B from I was going to say Canada, from Canada, gives us some Canuck bucks here. Instead of throwing short, the wide receiver, Ben needs more long plays to 11 and 18 and throw short to number 30. That seemed to work. I got to tell you what, let's throw number 19 in there as well. I want to see more stuff from number 11. I really do. And I know, mentioning Juju, he is more of your mid-range guy, but I'd love to see them throw deep to him every once in a while too, just to throw some defenses off even more. But 11 and 18 are your guys to go deep. But throwing those balls to James Conner, I think that was a big deal. We have not seen that in a long time, and that's something that made James Conner more valuable to this team. He does well catching that ball out of the backfield. I'd love to see more of that. So if they can keep that going, that would be really beneficial to this team. Tony, let me ask you this. We're going to go ahead and open it up to the group with some Q&A. So get your questions ready, and we'll go over those in the last 10 minutes. But my question to you is, do you care who they play in the playoffs? And let me ask you another question. Does Mike Tomlin care?
I don't think Mike Tomlin cares all that much. I care a little bit simply because, everybody's always propping up the Ravens. Everybody's always looking for a reason to praise them and to put them in that contender category. And the fact that they've gotten healthy and they're playing so well. And I mean, their schedule's pretty easy, so that helps. But the Ravens are the only team that I'm truly concerned about. Anybody else, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Browns, I mean, they're all quality teams. They're all going to be a handful. But if I had to pick one that I would like to avoid, it would be Baltimore.
Well, so here's the thing. What I'm looking at here is I would absolutely love to see Baltimore out of there. Not because I'm afraid of them, just because I hate them so much. I live in Maryland. I don't want to see those guys in the playoffs. I don't want the boredom of Baltimore. And I call it the boredom because there's just such monotony. Even though they're an exciting team, I'm just so sick of playing them sometimes 3 times a year. Brad Jewett wants Baltimore. 4TL Music Group says, bad, I'd rather play someone out of the division. I would too. I'd like to see a team like the Dolphins. I'd like to see the Colts. Man, I could even handle playing Tennessee. I have no problem with that. I don't know what's going to happen in that division. I just seeing the Ravens in there, man, gosh, I'm just tired of those guys. Well, so go ahead.
it's just the fallout from a loss. I mean, you never want to lose to that team in the playoffs. It would just be such bragging rights, and a validity to their program that it's much better with their quarterback and their coach than what the Steelers have going on right now. So yeah, that's the main reason. Not that Pittsburgh couldn't beat them. It's just that how it would feel if they lost to them in the playoffs.
Yeah, like I said, living here in Maryland, I know, and I get that. But Brad Jewett says, why wouldn't you want to kick Baltimore and all their talk out of here, especially in the playoffs? I just don't even want to see them in the playoffs. I would much rather go to a local Raven fan and say to them, you guys couldn't even get in. And remember, you were supposed I'm going to bring up a guy that everybody's banging on in the live chat. I hate him too, Colin Coward. Hey, Coward had you at 16-0 and you didn't make the playoffs. I'd just love to say that. If you want to see Baltimore out of the playoffs, man, you are rooting like crazy for the Miami Dolphins next week. The Miami Dolphins could probably keep them out. You want to root for the Colts next week too. Colts have an easy time with, I believe, what could be an easy time with the Jaguars. Tennessee would win a tiebreaker against them as well. So so many crazy things can happen. But I got to tell you, I just want them. I want Baltimore out. So that's just my thing. And 4TL Music Group says it's not the Ravens, it's Harbaugh bad. He's a quality coach that I don't want to. That's the reason he doesn't want to see the Ravens. You know how I feel about Harbaugh. I'm the one who gave him the nickname. So and y'all know what that nickname is. And boy, and we were joking about it yesterday. Phillip Rivers, that guy just seems like a wang. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice dude. I mean, he's got 8 kids. I'm sure he's a good dad and everything. I'm sure he's fine, but man, is he just mouthy? He would have been the perfect combination. I mean, that would be the perfect combination as far as jerks in Baltimore if those guys were together. Harbaugh and Phillip Rivers. I got to tell you that. So what you really want to see is Miami beat the Bills, if that's what the rooting guide's going to say. UT Local Band says, I respect Rivers. I do too. I respect him. I just think he's mouthy, and I've seen way too much of that guy over the years. But I got to tell you, I do respect the fact that that guy has never missed a start, which is amazing. Being a quarterback in the National Football League and not missing a start, that's great. But I don't consider him a Hall of Famer, Tony. Do you?
I think he'll get in. I mean, he hasn't accomplished even what Dan Fouts did. I guess he did make it to an AFC Championship game. He'll probably get in based on numbers. I mean, when you put up the kind of numbers he does, those quarterbacks, I don't see him not getting in.
Yeah, I just, to put him in, Marino never won a ring, but everything Marino did, he deserves to be in, and I'm a big Marino guy. So I just don't think he.
There are no
in sneezing distance of him.
Yeah, there are no signature moments for him in his career. He just had like a really productive career, except for on the when it comes to winning trophies for his team.
Yeah, I get it. I think he is going to go into, and I'm just getting off track here. So let's go ahead and pull out some of your questions here. Let's see what you have on your mind here going into next week against Cleveland, or if you have any questions about yesterday's game as well. We're going to take about 5 to 7 questions, and we'll try to answer them rapid fire as we could possibly do, because Tony and I, we like to talk. We definitely do. So that's the thing. Tony, I'm going to let you start off here. Do you have any questions for me?
Who do you think that you said the Dolphins? You want them to make the playoffs? Why do you say the Dolphins? Why do you think that would be the best matchup for them?
You know what? I just think the Dolphins are a solid team. I think they're becoming a really good team. In fact, they're going to have the number 5 draft pick from the Texans. So that's they're going to get better. They're building something special there. I really like Brian Flores. I just think that's a team that a lot like the Colts, that if the Pittsburgh Steelers play well, then they can go ahead and beat that team in the playoffs in the first round and might be able to get it together to beat them handily. But you never know. Knight Rider 16 says they're not for real to me. Yeah, I just don't think they're next level yet. So that's really what I think. We had a question up there about if I got to find it. It's if gosh, I'm having trouble here. If James Conner leaves, will they go veteran or will they go a rookie? And that was asked by Dallas Quinley.
I think you're always better off finding a young running back in the draft and going with him. I mean, maybe not in the first round, definitely the second or third round. You identify one and you bring him in and you try to run him until the wheels fall off. A veteran, you know how quickly they can fall off a cliff.
Big Drip asks this: do you think sitting Ben for a Browns game is a bad idea considering what happened in 2017? I just think this is a completely different team, and you've got a guy that's 3 years older and one hit with a maniac like Myles Garrett on the other side. Carly, I'm not Carly. I'm sorry, Big Drip. I just feel that that's probably the way to go. Tony, your thoughts?
Yeah, and they scored 42 points in that playoff game. It really wasn't. Ben didn't have much to do with that loss. It was the defense, really. I mean, there were some questionable calls on offense, but that was more Todd Haley and one of the reasons why he was fired, I guess. So, yeah, I think you have to rest Ben. I think it's just the smart move. You cannot have him get hurt. If he's hurt, you might as well just forfeit the playoff game.
Here we go too. And they're coming in fast and furious. So I did lose it, and I've got to go ahead and find this again. X Eddie B says, can the Steelers get the sack record? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. If it's team sack record, they would need about 6 to tie the team record. So, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure there. I don't think it matters. I think if being in the 50s for the 4th straight year in a row, that's a record as well. And they can continue with that continuous games sack record. They already have it, the official sack record, but I think next year around game 3 or 4, they can have the unofficial sack record for regular season, beating the 1965 Detroit Lions. Port Naquenba, this is the one I was looking for. Are we the worst team in the NFL with a 1st and goal at the 1? Yes. Right now, yes.
Hard to dispute.
Yeah, I think that's tough. Carly McAdams, it's not a question, but I'm glad she brought this up. Bad Rivers played in the OCAFC championship game with a torn ACL. Yeah, and I'm not discounting that, and that was more of a me just going after a guy that just annoys me. I mean, I just don't see him as a Hall of Fame guy. They got torn up in that game too, but there you go. Carly's asking a question though too. Is anyone else conflicted having to root for the Pats tonight? Nope. Not whatsoever. Because
whatever helps the Steelers.
I do the rooting guide every week, Carly. If you don't get a chance to check out that podcast, it's a fun podcast because the rooting guide takes all personal feelings for me out of it, and it's all business. And I look into the future. I look into seedings. I look into what is going to help the Steelers. A few weeks ago, people railed on me like crazy for saying that, hey, we got to have the Ravens beat the Browns. We need help from them. And people were all over me for it. There's no way I'm rooting for the Ravens. I'm like, hey, it's business. Sometimes the enemy of my enemy has to be my friend. And in that case, that's the truth. Now, the next few weeks, I was rooting against the Ravens in the rooting guide because it's back to business, because the rooting guide is all about using for your benefit. And that's it. because 1 week in the NFL, you are going to have to root for a team to help you out and then hate on them the next week. And we've seen that a lot of times this year. I have put Cincinnati in the rooting guide a few times. And most of the time it doesn't work, but it has when they beat Tennessee. It worked that week. It's worked a few times. So you never know with the rooting guide. And so I'm not conflicted because I'm not looking at it as business. At around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I could go back to hating the Pats. But I remember loving the Pats this year and loving on them big time when in the rain, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah, I have no problem. And especially for the fact that they're out of it. They're completely gone. So, there you go. John Trent. Question is, do they have the guts to bring back Todd Haley? You know what? I don't know whether it's the guts to do it, but a lot of the things that they do are Ben motivated, because I don't know if Ben would be behind that. And I don't think it should be Ben motivated, but you know what? I really don't think they do. They would even do that. I think they would bring in a guy they would see what they had in Matt Canada. Now that goes to the same question with 4TL saying, bad, do the Steelers have the guts to change OCs after the season? Yeah, they do. Because as much as I just said that it's Ben motivated, it's not going to be that much Ben motivated, because notice there's a little shoving match going on with Ben and Fichtner right now. Because when push comes to shove, and we just talked about in the rooting guide, when you got to turn on somebody, I'm watching these guys turn on each other, because the receivers just came out and said that, hey, Ben was calling all the plays. He was making up the plays. We saw it in Dallas when Ben said, I was drawing up plays in the dirt. And then Fichtner was like, no, they weren't. But when they lose, Fichtner's like, hey, Ben was calling the plays, not me. So it's just one of those things that I think it's getting to the point where that relationship has strained a little bit. And I don't think they're going to care next year with Ben, with the window closing even more for Ben, whether Ben's happy with the offensive coordinator, because it's you've got to look so much toward the future, and I think they will have the guts. I think his contract's up, so I think he's gone, and I will probably be cheering the most. Now, Carly asked this question: bad, does Randy deserve the Wang status? No, he doesn't. In fact, I think Randy I think he's a pleasant guy. And I said this last year. When I turned on Randy was when first of all, Randy did not deserve the job in the first place. He got the job because they didn't even interview anybody. They didn't even post the job. They gave it straight to him because that's what Ben wanted. But when Ben was out last year, it proved how much of an offense coordinator that Ben actually is. And Randy didn't know what to do. Randy did throw Mason Rudolph under the bus a lot last year. Even when Mason Rudolph was winning, he was throwing him under the bus. It didn't seem like he was coaching. He was just pointing fingers. And that's when I kind of fell off the Randy bandwagon. So, and I would also love it just not to have that guy around, to hear guys mispronounce his name all the time from a national broadcasting, not just the national broadcasting company, but from CBS and ABC, everybody mispronouncing his name. I'm just so tired of that guy. I think they would probably give Canada a chance first. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, I'm almost rooting for it, because I am so sick of hearing about Randy Fichtner. It's been 2 years of get rid of Randy Fichtner. And the one I feel sorry for the most, quite frankly, and this is just a rant, is Matt Canada. Because a year from now, it's going to be like, you think they should fire Matt Canada? You think they should get him out of town? You think they should send him up to the CFL? So I just think this is, first was Arians, then it was Haley, then it was Fichtner. Now they're calling for Haley to come back. So it's always going to be fire the coordinator, the offensive coordinator. So Yeah, it's probably time. If Ben's throwing him under the bus, or he's throwing Ben under the bus, or whatever, then it's probably time for him to go.
Okay, we're gonna take one last question. I'm not sure who put it up there, but we're gonna actually take two. But let me take this one. I'm not sure who put this up there. That question was Dobbs or Mason this week. Tony?
Oh, you have to go with Mason. Simply just for theater. I mean, they're not going to think of it that way, but I mean, he was put on blast and really had his reputation soiled so much that, I mean, how fitting would it be if he knocked them out of the playoffs? Because I'm pretty sure the Colts are going to beat the Jaguars, and if the Browns lose and the Colts win, then the Browns are out. So I think it'd be fitting to see him, and I think they have to. They just have to find out one last time what kind of progress he's made from last year, from all that experience he gained last year. If he really is a guy that they can consider in the future or not. So I think you have to give him a whole full week of preparation and see what he's got.
Mark Davison, one of our blokes from down under. A happy birthday, belated birthday, December 24th, Mark Davison's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Fantastic guy doing great things. And we kind of got an announcement that I think I'm going to make the announcement in the show. I wasn't thinking about doing that. And that involves you too, Tony. So we'll probably do that at the end of this. He says, get rid of Steely McBeam. He irks me the wrong way. I tell you what, now we're getting Brian Davis stole my car. I love you bad from the Scott brothers. Not first round draft pick Chad Scott from 1997, but two of my buddies. They are my game day buddies. So I talk to them all the time on game day. So the last question here that we're going to take before I make an announcement is, gosh, I lost it. So I'm not sure who asked it. Dallas did. Has Edmonds finally proved himself? I'm just going to say one word. Yeah, I think he has. Well, that's more than one word. Tony?
Absolutely. He's solid, and he's now starting to make plays. I wish he would have came up with that end zone pick early in the game, but yeah.
I think he has. I think he's playing solid. He is he's proving himself to be a workhorse guy too, and I really like what he's doing. Less and less people are complaining about him right now. So, I wish I did not steal your wife, Mike. She's a looker, though. I would. But I got to tell you this. So I wish Donald was on, because Donald has bugged me all season long about one question. When are we going to have a Friday night YouTube show? When are we going to do it? And because we haven't had a Friday night YouTube show. We've had Tony on Saturday at noon, and Tony has decided that he is going to go ahead and take on Friday nights.
Bring it on.
So Tony on Friday nights, it's no longer going to be Steelers Brunch with Tony. We have no idea what we're going to call it. So we might have to talk about that on here to come up with a really cool name for it. Tony, you got to put your thinking cap on for that. But so starting, I believe it's starting this weekend, you are going to have a YouTube show, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know what we're going to call the show. I mean, Steelers Happy Hour with Tony. I think that might be a good one. I mean, why not? Right. I mean, I promise no alcohol. I mean,
you can do it. There's no FCC regulations.
Hey, see, Mark can do it, so can I, but I won't do that. I mean, I stumble enough. So, but yeah. And I don't know what the show's going to be, but I was planning on doing an entire show of Q&A, because I always feel like I don't answer enough questions on my show on Saturday. So that's what I'm going to do, since I have a feeling everybody's going to be resting that needs to rest against the Browns. So why not have that as my first Friday show? It's all Q&A.
All right. I like it. So Just Me says, no more brunch. No more brunch. However, it's time to put another shrimp on the barbie. And what do I mean by that? Well, Touchdown Under, which is an audio-only show, you're going to finally get to see what these dudes from Down Under look like. Because around let's just say around 5 p.m. on YouTube on Saturdays. You are going to see Mark Davison, Matty Peverell. You are going to see them live and in person, be able to communicate with them as we turn Touchdown Under into a YouTube show, and it's going to stay on our audio platform as well. So great news, my friends. I am so glad to see that. Another YouTube show for you guys, and you get to see Mark, and Mark's already going with the self-deprecation. You get to see my ugly mug.
No, believe me, it's going to be an upgrade. Very symmetrical faces. I've seen it.
So yeah, I mean, these are the guys with the accents, and these are guys in their 30s. They raise our profile by putting 2 Australian studs on Saturdays. So there you go. We'll have more women viewers than ever when we throw these guys on. And because our women viewership on Saturdays already is awesome because of Tony.
Right. Yeah. But my time's almost up. It's time for some younger, fresh, hot meat or whatever, fresh meat, whatever you want to say.
LLTD, ladies love Tony Defeo. So with that being said, yeah, so great things coming on. The rest of the lineup stays the same, so check everything out. But get ready for that change, and it's a good change because you're getting more, and everybody loves more. So with that being said, Steelers win. Hangover, it's a good one. And hey, that losing streak is over, Tony, so I am feeling good. For Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis, and I got to tell you, just when you think you got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.